everyone, and welcome to the Velvet Lounge. I wanted to talk to you today about renter's insurance. The reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because an acquaintance of ours, as well as a completely different person who is a friend of ours or a new friend of ours, who we met through YouTube. Yay, YouTube! Recently suffered a couple of losses. One was a grease fire because the person was cooking, and unfortunately the grease was unattended, and so it caused the kitchen to catch fire, as well as several units in a condo that they were renting. So their unit went up in flames, as well as several surrounding units. And they were actually renters there. And then there was another person that we know of who had a loss due to a fire as well. And this had nothing, it was not their fault. It had nothing to do with them, other than, unfortunately, the house they were renting had faulty wiring inside of the walls, or maybe the wiring was just really old, and it actually caused an electrical fire. So that was not, something that the renters caused. That was something that was caused due to the wiring needing to be replaced. But anyway, the reason I want to talk about renters insurance is because, people are having losses due to things that they can avoid sometimes, or things they cannot avoid. However, in order to help you have less to worry about as far as recuperating, getting yourself back on your feet, it is important that you have, for people who don't own a property, especially, to have renter's insurance. A lot of people that rent do not believe renter's insurance is important. It doesn't apply to them. Nothing's ever going to happen. But hello, do you look at the news or the newspaper? Stuff happens every single day. Statistically, obviously, hopefully, things are not happening to you often or ever. But, in the event of a loss, at least if you have renter's insurance, you know that your belongings will be covered up to the coverage that you're paying for, as well as there's liability coverage just in case someone is hurt, and you are found to be liable for that injury. If it's, like, for example, tripping on a child's toy, or falling down the stairs, or twisting an ankle out, and, when you're having a family or, some sort of party event, at least you would be covered for that up to the limit that you're paying for, as well as there's some medical coverage there, just in case the person hopefully only wants you to pay their medical bill. Then, there is a little bit of coverage there for you to do that without the money coming out of your pocket or ending up in small claims court. Also, which I think is very important, is there's coverage there for your family, yourself, your pet, to stay somewhere else in an alternative location, whether it be in a hotel or whether it be temporarily renting another, location, or staying with friends and family until you can get back on your feet. And once again, all of these coverages have limits, so it's not unlimited. You can't go stay at, the Taj Mahal and think that your policy is going to cover that. It's not. These need to be reasonable expenses. The other thing that happens is, when there is a loss, you do have nonprofits that will come out and assist you, but they can only do so much. They will help you find some alternative housing, clothing, some of the basic needs that we all have as humans. But if you have that network of help as well as your renter's insurance policy, then you will be back on your feet sooner versus later. And you'll end up, in some cases, almost exactly where you were, as far as if you had 3 televisions and you can prove that, you will end up with 3 televisions. So, they can pretty much do a good job of replacing what you have and trying to make you whole again, as long as you have coverage and, of course, the help of nonprofits. I'm just going to give you a quick example of, what happened to a person that we know, as well as what it cost approximately for this renter's insurance. So the cost of renter's insurance is generally between $100 and $200 a year. You could pay it in payments, or you could pay it in 2 installments, 6 installments, or 1 installment. So for people who don't have a lot of money all the time, it's a good thing if you know that every year you're going to get a check for, like some people talk about income tax returns or whatever. Look at my gray hairs right there. Well, it's a good thing for you to take that tiny little portion and pay for that policy once a year and have it out of sight, out of mind. So that's one way of doing it. Or if you know that every year your job gives you a bonus, take a tiny portion of that and pay your annual renter's premium. And these policies are renewable. They are transferable. So if you move from one location to another, you simply have to call the insurance company, give them your new address. They'll just ask you a few questions to make sure nothing really is different than where you were before. And if there's a change in premium, whether it's giving you a credit, so you receive a refund, or credit to your remaining balance, or if it's like a few dollars more, they'll let you know that as well. So, it's really convenient to have. And some companies will even give you a discount on your car insurance or your auto insurance if you also have renter's insurance. And the discount on your car insurance will probably cover what it would cost for that renter's policy. So it's almost like you're getting it for free. But you just have to keep both of them active. So, the cost isn't expensive. The coverage that you'll get will be between $50,000 and $100,000 if you're paying between $125 and $200 a year. And that depends on where you're living, what town, what state, what county, etc., etc. Also, your landlord has to cover his building or her building, as well as the land that it's on. So what you need to do before you rent from someone is you want proof of their insurance. You want a copy or a binder that shows that they have proof of insurance. So it could be an Accord binder, or it could be just a photocopy of their active policy. And you should call the insurance company to verify before you move in that their coverage is active. And every year you might want to call that company to make sure they kept their coverage active. Because if the property, let's say, has faulty wiring in it, then the landlord is whoever owns that building, they are responsible for that. They're liable for that. So especially if someone is hurt, injured, or killed, which is like the ultimate sadness, then you really need to know that this person had coverage. It's too late after the fact. And it's much easier to deal with an insurance company than it is to deal with an individual. So there was a situation where a person that we've known for many, many decades had a grease fire in a condo that they were renting. And and we saw this on the news. We didn't even know it was them, of course. But it burned approximately 6 or 7 other units and damaged a few others from the smoke and the water. And their unit obviously was one of the units that was completely burned out. No one was injured or hurt, thank goodness. And I think there were like a few people that had issues with smoke, but that was pretty much it. But what happened is 3 days before this fire occurred, her second husband at the time made her cancel the renter's insurance simply because it wasn't in his name. So for whatever reason, she did not put her crown on and put her foot down, and she canceled the insurance. 3 days later, a gigantic fire occurs. Now, these people at that point had no coverage whatsoever. The insurance company is not obligated to go back and, cover you because, you've had insurance with them for 99 years, or you only canceled it 3 days ago. If you cancel, you're done, it's over. So, unfortunately, they didn't have money from their policy because it was canceled for her and the 3 kids and the husband to stay somewhere else. They did not have any money to replace any of their belongings, and they're liable for that. They were liable for that fire. So what happened is she, unfortunately, at her age, had to go out and get another job. Their marriage ended up failing. She unfortunately really had to start from zero, from scratch. Other than the money that, she had in the bank, what else is there? Like, there is no other coverage anywhere for this fire. And with them being liable for the fire, the policy that the condo association had obviously covered the building damage because you're responsible for, damages when you damage someone else's property, but they can't just sit there and wait for you to pay them back in, $100 or whatever it is at a time because you're not a millionaire. Like, this is, I believe the damage was like well over $1 million. So in reality, the money probably will never be paid back in full, but they can garnish your wages through subrogation. And that's what the condo association's insurance holder did. And unfortunately, it's like an anchor that she'll carry around for probably the rest of her life, which is really sad because it was an accident. No one was like being, doing an arson deal or anything like that. But unfortunately, the accident happened. Unfortunately, her insurance was canceled. So she couldn't, they did obviously have another place to stay because of friends and family. And of course, clothing because of nonprofits, friends and family. And of course, like I said, they were not poor people, so they did have some money. But as far as, getting some assistance, her renter's insurance policy would have paid for something. And it would have, brought some relief to this family to know that they weren't alone. But unfortunately, due to choices, the policy was canceled and they were alone. And they did have to, and they still are today, years later, they're still trying to rebuild their lives, which is really difficult when you've, had your career and you're almost at a retirement age and have to start almost over again. So remember renter's insurance, and you need it before loss occurs. If there's going to be a storm in your area, usually you need to have it 48 to 72 hours in advance of that impending storm, because you don't buy insurance because you see the storm coming. You buy it just in case the storm comes. So thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. Subscribe, please. Give us a thumbs up. As well as if you could please share this video. Hopefully it'll help other people not have, as much heartache. Be safe out there and have a good day.